Indiana Jones. It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. Indiana Jones Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute. This is the podcast where we debunk Mitchell Hug and Kiss 1 minute at a time. I'm the Admiral, Pete Mummert.
I am Tom Taylor.
I'm Gerald Christopher Eliopoulos.
Jared, that was embarrassing. We would like to say, Chris, we love you. Chris Hippopotamus, welcome back to the show.
Oh my God.
I was actually called Snuffleupagus as a kid.
Wow.
Stupidopolis.
Oh, come on.
Stupidopolis, like the whole city of it.
Yeah, I like every
Mayor
bad.
of Stupidopolis.
Yeah, it was. I was there.
See, I feel this started off as a goof about Pete messing up like his intro, but now it's bringing back all this childhood trauma for Chris, and it's less
I know,
funny
it's
now.
brutal. You can tell I'm totally devastated by this, right? You can hear it in my voice.
I can hear the tears. You're choking up. It's uncomfortable.
I actually was Gerald Christopher Mississippi Mud Pie Porter.
Gross.
But
That was his personal hygiene.
I'm not convinced you're not anymore.
That was just your mother.
But I messed it up, and I just went after Wake Up Little Susie. The scandal.
Well, you don't go through life with your name being Peter and have a lot of fun when name time comes around.
Well, look, I feel for him because I feel for you, Pete, because like I was Chris Pissed as well as like Snuffleupagus, so like don't feel so bad.
That has a zing to it.
Yeah, I like
Kids are
Peter,
hideous.
Peter is a name that it sounds smaller as you're saying it. Like it comes out. It's like as you're saying it, your lips get smaller, and at the end, it's just it ends in a whimper. Peter.
Like my last name, Peter Eliopoulos.
Tom Taylor at least has like a strong alliteration.
Tom Taylor, how you doing?
Yeah.
I know you should be like a superhero.
You just bought insurance from me.
I don't like superheroes. So I like Tom.
Exactly.
Right? Wasn't that the point of like Ready Player One? Like he had alliterated name.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, it could
everything
be a
think-
superhero. You're right.
Yeah,
Tom Taylor.
No one would suspect me to be a superhero.
yeah.
Da-da-da.
Yeah.
The
He's too
unsung
mild-mannered.
Taylor in Middle Europe. There's like a whole chain of Tom Taylor clothing
Oh, that's right.
stores
Yeah.
in Austria
Yeah.
and Germany and Switzerland.
Okay, so what are we doing here today?
We're talking about
Who
minute
knows?
30.
Oh, right.
Which begins with the very polite young mutt offering his hand to Indy, and it ends with Indy making a very tantalizing statement about the possible veracity of the titular crystal skull.
Okay, so here we go. So I spent all last minute like talking endlessly, and I'm sure everybody is like tuning out of your podcast. But I will start off with this one, which I was holding on to until this moment, which is another one of the issues that you have with this thing, which was the problem leading into this movie. A lot of people were feeling like, oh, they were going to transfer over the Indiana Jones franchise to Shia LaBeouf. Shia LaBeouf? LaBeouf? I don't know.
We don't know.
Eliopoulos.
No one knows. It's been plaguing philosophers for ages. Just how do you say the kid's name?
But this led credence to it because his name was Mutt, and that's what he chose for himself. And if you remember, Indiana chose his name, but it was the dog's name.
Mm-hmm.
So Mutt is a dog. He chose the name. History repeats itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so the feeling was that, he chose a dog's name, and that's why he chose Mutt. And I think everybody was kind of like, oh, really? Like, that makes no sense. And it was one of those moments where you're just like, you're almost there, but you're just playing to the fans too much. Or you're playing too much to the audience and not staying true to the story.
Yeah.
So
at least Indy doesn't get caught up in that. It seems
but he doesn't
like,
know. He doesn't know it's his son.
Yeah.
Right.
He
But like
doesn't
it's he also like, the kid introduces himself as Mutt and he makes fun of his name. And you're like, listen, Indiana Jones, why are you like, he did that with Willie. He does it with Mutt here. Like,
Yeah.
you
Right.
should not talk about people's names. You shouldn't.
But he says, I chose it myself. Do you have a problem with it? And like, he should have been like, chose my own as well. Like,
you're all right, kid.
Yeah.
I like the way you think. But there's
Would
not
have been
much of
better
that.
if he'd been like a mime and he'd been Henri. He had like a little beret.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Henri.
Here's a
That'd be a little,
No, it
little
would
less,
not have been better.
little less direct fan service. Sean German would have been over the moon happy.
Well, yeah.
But it's funny because Mutt very vulnerably offers Indy this photo. Like he's opening up, himself and his past. And then Indy's a jerk and he immediately takes the picture back. He like closes off.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Indy's immediately shut down this relationship.
Yeah. And he doesn't care at all. He's like, take it easy.
Take it easy.
Yeah.
Which I actually really like. I like that.
I like that
I do too, but
actually.
it's a jerk move.
It is a jerk move. Well, I don't know if it is a jerk move. I mean, he kind of makes fun of the guy. Like he said, I think if someone introduces themselves as Mutt and you say, what kind of a name is that? I think that's okay. I think you're allowed to say, oh, that's an unusual name. I'm surprised by that your name is Mutt. And then if the guy gets mad, you'd be like, take it easy. Your name is Mutt. You got to let people react to the fact that your name is Mutt.
No, this is a simmer down sport. I'm the adult. You're acting like a little kid. Take it.
You
Take
could
it.
have said
easy.
that's an
That's fine.
unusual
That's-
name. Like you could just say that's an unusual name. Where'd you get that one from? And like I made it. I chose it myself. Like but that's the problem with Indiana Jones, right? He like a scene ago he was lamenting that he's lost everybody in his life because he's been a jerk, and he can't even change who he is.
Yeah.
He met this new person who's telling him one of his friends is getting killed, and he's worried
pouring out
about
his
what this
soul.
guy's name is.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of a jerk thing. I mean, Pete, have you ever said, what kind of name is that? I mean,
No, I ask that all
Your
the
name
time.
is
I often
stupid.
ask like, oh,
Yeah,
where's
but
your name from? That's a fun name to say. Or I love that.
Yeah,
name.
but I bet you couch it or you sort of you bookend it with like, that's a beautiful name.
Oh, I totally.
Where,
do.
yeah, something like that. What kind of, I don't know. What's the derivation of that name? What kind of name is that?
But it's like you were saying.
That's what Indy says.
We had a Patreon show recently where we were talking about Jerry has this extraordinary talent for meeting people like everywhere he goes. He meets, 100 people and has very in-depth conversations with them. And Jerry was, you said something that really floored me that I haven't stopped thinking about is that the thing that counts in getting people to talk to you and open up to you is that they can read your intention.
Huh.
Oh,
And
yeah. Your
Mutt
intention
can
is
very easily
important.
read Indy's intention here, which is belittling.
Yeah,
Right.
it is belittling. And I think that this whole...
I think that's appropriate though. I think yes, Indy it's a kind of obnoxious thing to say what kind of a name is Mutt. But I think that given that he's this like faux biker guy and he's got a hat and he's kind of like trying too hard, and the fact that he gets that angry at him and kind of snap, what's it to you? Like, I think Indy's then, take it easy is also, it is adult and mature and fatherly and kind of, hey kid, settle down. But I think that's all appropriate. I think that's right. I think that's,
Listen, Tommy, I don't know what kind of life you lead here, but I am
Yes, you
always
do.
very careful when I meet strangers because I understand I may very well be talking to my son.
Those gigs are going well for you, huh?
I just don't know it yet. Yeah, I say, that's a lovely name, Mutt. Okay, I get it.
Mutt Porter.
How much you got in that bank account, Mutt?
I mean, I get it too. I get it all the time. I get as soon as I say Eliopoulos, or as Pete likes to say,
yeah.
people will invariably say, "Is that Greek?" And it happens so often to the point where now I have to make jokes about it. Like it's just like, no, it's Hebrew or it's Irish because it's so obviously Greek. And so I don't put it totally past him, but the kid just came to him and said, your friend is going to be killed and you're mocking his name. Like Indiana Jones is mocking Mutt.
I know.
Yeah.
Indiana,
pretty great.
yeah.
And Mutt's being vulnerable here. Mutt's showing him the picture of him as a kid, like the Porter childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's coming to him saying, my mother was kidnapped.
Yeah.
You know,
what I think
need
it is
your
for
help.
me? I think the reason why I'm on Indy's side here, even though he's being a jerk, is people getting angry for like very little reason is always both funny and annoying to me. Like I want them to be shut down. I'm like, why are you angry? Don't be angry. That's stupid. Why are you angry? So Indy just saying, take it easy. It's like, yeah, that kid should take it easy. Yes, you were a jerk to him, but just why is he mad? Take it easy.
I love seeing you guys get angry. Like that makes me happier than seeing me be happy.
Because we're righteous. We have righteous anger.
I don't like seeing like kids who are trying to find their way in the world get angry, because that's not funny to me, because that's a kid who's trying and he doesn't know his place yet, and he's trying to. I mean, he's looking
That's
for
fair.
a welcoming hand.
Now wait a minute. Now I want to say, Pete, take it easy. We're talking about Mutt. Okay. Yeah, we're talking about Mutt. It
combs his hair with Coca-Cola.
Yeah, I mean.
Okay, that ended the good feelings right there.
See, we're watching Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Well,
talking about Mutt.
But you just pointed out the right thing, right? So he's shutting him down. So he was vulnerable, and he's giving Indy like sort of like, my mother got kidnapped. She sent me this note. She said, you're the only one that can help her. I love Ox. I need, I don't want him dead. And he shuts him down. And what does he do? He goes right back to sticking the comb in the Coke. Like he becomes that character again. Like he was almost there. Like you almost brought him back.
Yeah.
And he's now going to be grabbing the beer bottle. Like he's now, like, fine. You want to treat me like, oh, sorry. Bad language.
That's fine, but he's retreating into his armor.
Right. And that's what kids do. They tend to just kind of fall back into learned behavior so that they don't get hurt.
Yeah.
And this is his defense mechanism. This is how he's trying to deal with this mean man.
Which I totally get, which is why he should be like, a greaser or whatever he's dressing up to be. And
I think
so
he keeps escalating. Like the more Indy's being a jerk, he keeps escalating. I think because he's so uncomfortable. Like first he dips his comb in the guy's soda, which is just, that's just gross.
That is super gross.
And then
they do nothing about it. She points it out. She says to her boyfriend, he just stuck that in your Coke, and he looks at him like, oh.
Yeah, and then he doesn't.
Guess I won't drink that.
Why would you could not drink that? You'd have to move that to the other side of the bar, like the other side of the room. So you'd have to be near it.
But then he also tell somebody, like, what the hell are you doing?
But then Mutt grabs the beer, like he escalates again. He grabs the beer off the tray, and then for some reason he turns around. There's some guy like Meathead walking by, and Mutt is completely enthralled by him.
No,
you know what's
Mutt's
interesting?
watching that guy walk by.
I only exactly what I was going to say.
Okay, well, no, you go ahead because you're a guest here.
No. I want to hear you say it. I've been talking way too
much. I was just rewatching the minute, and I was confused by that too. Like, oh, he only looks over so that he doesn't see Indy take the bottle. That's kind of cheap. But you hear it's clearly added later just as an excuse. But you hear a girl say, "Oh, nice jacket," and he looks up to see that, but there's not a girl there. There's like a guy walking by, with a Marshall jacket.
I heard that, and I didn't know.
Maybe he thought she was talking about his jacket, and then he looks up and he's like, "Oh,
maybe yeah,
it was that guy's jacket."
Oh.
I wasn't talking about me.
I wondered, like when they talk about, when they talk about Mutt starts talking about his family life and his relationship with Oxley, and he says, his dad died in the war, and I thought, what if Indiana Jones did die in the war? What if we're watching a fake Indiana Jones movie?
Oh, it's like a Dickie Stilson, who's the guy on Mad Men?
Like this is like all of this is fake.
Yeah.
What if Indiana Jones died in the war?
The talented Mr. Mutt.
Yeah, this is Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge. That's what Indiana Jones and the Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge.
Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge. Oh my god.
Well, okay, I keep saying that I like this scene, and I do. I like this scene a lot, but there is something super awkward that sort of adds to, or kind of speaks to the awkwardness of the entire movie. Indy got off a train to talk to this kid. The kid said, "Oh, your friend's about to get killed." He gets off the train. They go to a soda shop. They're looking at pictures. And right now, the kid goes, "My name is Mutt. Pleased to meet you." Like they're just like, well,
that makes no sense.
Super weird. That's really very strange.
He's an awkward kid. He doesn't really know social graces yet, and I think he's trying to pretend that he's an adult.
You have to think.
Yeah, but adults introduce themselves when they, meet at the beginning of the conversation.
Or like Indy had to get off the train and they jumped or whatever he did, and then
Yeah.
I guess
Let
he
his
got
luggage
on the
go.
back of Mutt's motorcycle, and Mutt
Maybe.
drove him to the mall. He said, "You know what? I know this great little cafeteria at Marshall. We can get a malt, and you can fill me in on why, whatever."
Yeah.
And
Because I can't tell you at the train station.
I can't tell you at the train station.
Your friend's
you know,
about
I mean,
to be killed.
Yeah, he already bought the ticket to New York City. He's just, Mutt is just introducing him now after they're completely sat down and whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah.
To quote Tom Taylor, "Get off him."
Fair enough. No, you know what it is? You know what else it is? I keep saying you know what it is. But the reason it's okay for Mutt to, I don't know why I want to defend this take it easy line so much. But Mutt is, as we're all saying, he's trying too hard. Like everything is a little like
But
dipping that's obviously obnoxious, dipping the comb in the thing, taking the beer. And like even his getting angry at being made fun of for his name is a little forced. And Indiana Jones, a sober adult, is saying, take it easy. We're having a conversation.
But I think we're getting character development, which unfortunately doesn't go far in this movie. But I think we should really enjoy what we get of it. Like this is a complex little scene, and we see like
it is
this whole transition from this kid who's, he's doesn't know who he is. He feels vulnerable. He tries to act like an adult and gets shot down. So then he goes into his defense mechanisms. Like I feel like we're gonna have plenty of time to bash Mutt, but I feel like this to me is not the time to do it.
Yeah. And we haven't said this at all, I don't think. We started our Mutt watch meter, technically. I don't think we mentioned it last time, but we haven't really talked about, and like Jerry, you mentioned, like, Mutt is sort of the punching bag for the movie. He's like sort of the Jar Jar that people immediately point to. He's the Ewok, like, oh, Crystal Skull equals Mutt being a dum-dum, and he sucks. And I think, I wonder if you said this a long time ago, but I feel like part of that is connected to people's attitude about Shia LaBeouf. That like there seems to be like a kind of, at least at the time, maybe it's changing now, but at the time this movie came out, there was a kind of like, oh, that guy,
yeah,
that guy's a jerk. Like that, I don't want to like that
Yeah.
guy. I don't want to see him in Indiana Jones movie.
That didn't.
But he is a good actor. He is
He
really
is.
good.
He
If you
is,
watch,
yeah.
he's really good in this movie. Like,
He is.
He's really good
Yeah.
in this movie. He's very, very natural and very casual. And I went into this, like you said, Chris, you like this movie a little bit more than you think you were going to. And he's part of it. I was like going in expecting to hate Mutt and Shia LaBeouf, and obviously I was going to hate them. And he's fine. He's good. He's doing a good job in this movie.
But-
and like, it does get ridiculous later on, but he's doing all right.
But you remember at the time that the movie came out, everybody assumed that he was going to take over the franchise. He was going to be the new Indiana Jones, and everybody hated it.
That would not be okay.
Yeah.
And so he already had the deck stacked against him, right? Like it
Yeah.
was already like, we don't want you, we don't like you, like, we don't deal with it. The problem with the scene is, again, it could have been rewritten in a heartbeat with the moment at the beginning, him just saying, Indiana Jones just saying, okay, what's your name again? And what's going on? Like he could have just said that moment.
Why aren't you writing this, Chris? Why didn't they call you? That would have been great.
Yeah. That's
They
so
could,
easy.
you're like literally, you're like spackling the holes in the
Right.
wall as I'm looking at the wall, and I'm like, I'm never gonna get this thing
Look, I don't
painted
think
and
I'm
fixed.
that great. I think these are obvious things, so I
Yeah.
don't think that I'm doing any great service. But that's the moment. Like this is typical movie stuff. Like I need to tell you who I am and what's going on.
Yeah.
But that there's time between when they're on the train to when they get there, right?
Yes.
And why is it at a soda shop? Why is it not at his place? Why didn't he say, let's go back to my house? But
That's all George
That's
Lucas
fine.
wanting to film in a soda shop, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
by the way,
Fine.
that sucks. That sucks.
Why?
I don't know if that does suck. I think
No,
that's-
I don't have a. Just make it. Don't shoehorn a soda shop in unless it serves you.
Well, it's about
I
to
think it does.
get this brawl.
it pays
Well, no,
off.
that's fine. But put the extra scene in. Put a little bit of connective tissue. Is all I'm saying. Like maybe a I don't know, a 5-second thing, a 10-second thing of Indy getting off the train and going like, okay, hold up, kid. What is
know
this
who you
now?
are.
Yeah. What is going on, and what do you know about the Ox?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just that with a little bit of whatever smart pants movie treatment that those people do when they make
Right.
movies that you obviously know is missing. I feel like I'm sitting here watching this with like this ache, like this sickness, and I don't know what it is. I just have the symptoms of like, well, I feel sick to my stomach. I have a headache. And then Chris, you're like, oh, you probably have this.
You're missing a little vitamin C from your diet.
Yes. Why do I have rickets?
I think you're allergic to tree nuts. Did you have any tree nuts today?
Yeah, thank you. And then I quit the tree nuts and it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just I got scurvy and now Chris is giving me the vitamin C.
But
that's
the scene works in a sense, like, again, here it is again, like we're looking at this and saying there are good moments, like, so
yeah,
we sort of know because of knowing about this movie that it's a father and son again. And he's trying to show off that he's like Mutt is trying to show off that he's a big shot, that he can do these cool things, that he's quick and he's got it going, like he can take the beer. But Indy is already way ahead of him, is able to pull the beer back and put it back. Like he's one-upping him already. Like, kid, I've been there. I've done this. I'm way ahead of you. And it's a great character moment without having to say anything. And like, he's the wizened old man who can, play his game for him. And he reads him right away. Like, that's the point. Like, Indy is reading this kid right away. And maybe that's why he says, settle down, kid. I'm old.
Yeah.
He's plugging him a little bit to get to see who this kid is and what's going on.
Well,
It's what he does. But it's a moment where you're just like, why are we here? What are we doing?
Well, I like the settle down line because it shows you now that this is how Indiana Jones diffuses tension today. That's
you know
not
actually.
what,
you know what's really funny? I'm just noticing it's exactly like what he says to Elsa when she's mad at him. It's like, knock it off. You're not mad.
Yeah.
You could be saying the exact same thing to Mutt right
to
now.
Willie.
Yeah, but but what's interesting is there's a big difference between that still, though. He's because that's still very confrontational. He's like, knock it off. You're not mad. Like, there's still an Indiana Jones confrontation. Like, he's not going to back down. Like, in this, you're like, oh, okay, it's 20 years later. He's like, take it easy, It's like, okay.
But what's funny is he's saying, take it easy, because you're faking mad. You're not actually mad. But he doesn't say it that way. He just says, take it easy. I'm agreeing.
Well, he
with
does
you.
repeat it later and sort of say, like, you don't have to prove you're a tough guy by always.
Yeah.
Like, so he already is reading him. Like, he's basically that he's putting out feelers to get what this guy is all about.
Yeah.
And maybe he senses, like we're saying, like, he is this vulnerable kid who is pretending to be a tough kid to get through things.
Yeah. And you kind of get that Indy gets that and that he's on his side. That he's, take it easy is kind of like, look, it's all right. Like, I'm not coming at you by wondering what your name is. It's
and again,
it's
it could have been a line like, look, kid, I did the same thing when I was your age. Like little moments, like, because then it plays back to later, like where, he does become vulnerable when he sees what's going on with Ox. And he's like, you know what? I had a father too, or whatever, like you sort of, if they want to play that father-son relationship, he can do that. But yeah, it's sort of, like I said, it's almost there. Like, you're just a step away, like almost there. Like, I know what you're doing, but you're just not there yet.
Yeah.
Would would the waitress have looked at her, her empty plate and have gone back to the kitchen?
That tray would have flown.
Yeah, she has it balanced for having a bottle there, and all of a sudden it's not there.
That's really interesting. I wonder, like, would she have just got like, oh my God, I can't believe I forgot that.
Yeah.
Forgot it. They balance it pretty well.
Yeah.
And usually, like I worked in, restaurants. My wife was a waitress, and they balance it a certain way. So when they bring it out, they know which glasses to take off so that it stays balanced, so it doesn't fall over. He was able to pull that bottle off without disturbing the balance, which means that she knew that it was taken off.
I think because she's in a movie. Yeah.
I know it's movie moment. You have to suspend disbelief. I totally get it.
He's a professional beer stealer.
Well, why does Indy put the bottle back? Does he think Mutt's too young to drink? Is he being sort of fatherly, or is this all about law and order and you don't steal, son?
I think the kids
Says the grave
like
robber.
being
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
I
That's a
think
little ironic.
I think ironically it's about Law and Order,
I do, because he sort of became
Yeah.
like Captain
Yeah.
Law and Order.
which is
here at
ridiculous.
the last. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just silly.
Yeah, it plays. I'm sorry. You've got me. Like, I'm wound up now. Like the last minute and this minute, I'm like, I'm going in circles because I see this moment and it's like, yeah, it's the father-son thing. It's the maturity factor. He's becoming Henry Jones Sr. Like, so this time he puts the bottle back. And later on he takes the knife from the knight, and Mutt kind of looks at him and says, like, are you going to take that? And he's just like, oh, no, I was just using it. And he puts it back. And he said, you're a grave robber. I'm not a grave robber. Like, he's sort of trying to play off his reputation as what he was as a younger man. And maybe he's more matured now.
Oh, yeah.
And again, it plays into that whole thing of, is this a passing the baton off moment that everybody hated? So it's sort of like, oh, that's not my Indiana Jones would have taken the beer and had a swig.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Would he?
Yeah, he would have grabbed two.
You know what's really tough is they play both sides of the fence on this in this franchise and in these movies. Yeah, you're like, no, man, he's a grave robber. He's dark. You know what I mean? But then of course he's the hero, and he does the right thing, and you're like, yeah, but he does the right thing by doing the wrong thing.
He hasn't been the same though since the end of Temple of Doom. Like, he kind of became Captain Nice Guy at the end of that. And
that's
that never
true.
really wore off.
And it's 20 years later, and he's mellowed, and he's a different guy, and I get
He
it.
wants his dad to be happy.
Sure. Well, here's a quote. So, they talk about the crystal skull, right? And
wait, can I say something right before that?
Go ahead.
That I like that Mutt, and this is again kind of we saw the traveling hat from Raiders, and now we get this moment from Mutt right before he launches into, 6 months ago I got a letter, or my mom got a letter from Oxley. It looks like he went to the Musgrove school of giving Indy his mission, because he does this quick look around before he says it, which is exactly what Musgrove does. Like, yesterday afternoon, our European sections, and like, it's just kind of like like somebody's going to be listening in to find out about what Oxley wrote to his mom or something.
Oh God, what if Marion had a fling with Musgrove?
I'm sure she did.
Yeah.
He's not old enough.
Finds out about Marion.
I feel like we should address the Eliopoulos and the elephant in the room.
The Snuffleupagus in the room?
The Mitchell Hedges skull, which is, not to put too fine a point on it, bunk, and it has been known to be bunk for a long, long time. And the whole story of it has never really added up, and the timeline of it doesn't add up here. So either we're in another universe, or Indy is just making stuff up here at the table.
When you say the timeline doesn't add up here, is it because...
So this woman, Anna Mitchell Hedges, was the adopted daughter of a British explorer, and she says she was on a dig with her dad in Belize, and that she found this skull in a temple in Belize. And her dad had never made any mention of it, and like, there was no record of Anna's presence at the dig. And then it came to light later that her dad actually bought the skull at a Sotheby's auction in London in 1943, and she claimed to have discovered this in a temple in Belize in the 1920s. And so they had these records that they actually bought it in 1943, and so no one had heard of the skull before then. And then after they had it, they did some research on it and found out that it was made with modern tools. So they say the earliest it could have been made was probably in Germany in the 1800s. So the skull itself is bunk. It doesn't meet any of the criteria that Indy's going to ascribe to it here. And the whole timeline doesn't make any sense, because since nobody had any record of the skull existing until 1943, how were Indy and Ox obsessed with it in college?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, okay,
unless we finally learned that he wasn't a doctor, and he had to quickly go back to school.
Well, wait, when was it debunked though? Would it
They
have been
debunked it in
by
the
now?
50s. I'm not sure when in the 50s, maybe the 60s. It may not have
What's
been.
interesting, he says, I was almost, when you were telling that story, I was like, oh, wait, I think this does work. But if it does, if they didn't find out about the skull even existing until the 40s, then that's
No,
that's
the part that makes it crazy is that no one knew about it in the 20s.
Right. That's weird.
And so there's no way that he and Ox were at college, like, being obsessed with it.
But it is weird because he says that, the Ox and I were obsessed with the Hedges skull in college. But then, like, he immediately right after that says, interesting craftsmanship, but that's about it. So it's almost like he's saying...
the thing. Yeah, he says... But he also says Mesoamerican. He says, it's a deity carving. No. Mesoamerican. No. There are a number of crystal skulls in the world. I saw one in the British Museum. There are several there. They also think are from the 1800s in Germany. Yeah. And then he does. It's this very tantalizing thing where he seems to be saying it's a fake, when he says impressive craftsmanship, but that's about it.
But it's weird because, like, without this story about the real, the actual history of the Hedges skull, that line is just plain weird because, I was obsessed with this thing and it's nothing. But he's not saying it like, but it was nothing. He's just saying, I was obsessed with it and it's nothing. It's not interesting.
But if it is something, if he thinks it is something, why is he so blasé about it now after having been obsessed about it all through college with his best friend?
It sounds like he found out what you just said, but they're not explaining that to the audience who doesn't know about the Hedges skull.
Maybe.
What it is it's one of the, you just need that classic Indiana Jones dismissing the MacGuffin.
Yeah, but he's saying it sounds like he's dismissing something that actually should be dismissed. That it's like not a thing. It's actually not a thing, and he's okay.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I kind of want to go back and listen again, but he says like he's going about like the Mesoamerican thing and like the it sounds like he's talking about the fake skull and these other skulls and what they're supposed to mean. Like he's not necessarily saying that this one that was just had the interesting workmanship on it and that's about it.
But that's the one they were obsessed with in college that nobody knew about when they were in college.
Right. But like,
and then Ox goes on to talk about it for the rest of Mutt's life. Like Ox was talking about it last week. Ox was talking about it the week before. Ox was talking about it 2 months ago.
I'm saying, like, there's the Hedges skull, which is fake, but there were other skulls that were out there that there were stories about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But once again, what's fascinating is through the entire franchise, the only thing that Indiana Jones gives a damn about is the Chachapoyan idol.
It's true.
That's the only thing that's his. Like, he doesn't care about this skull. He's like, oh yeah, impressive carving or whatever, but that's about it. And, he's always dismissing, he's like, this is a rumor. I mean, he sure as hell doesn't care about the Holy Grail. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's like kryptonite for him.
Yeah, that's Dad's thing.
Totally. And I have a hard time believing Indiana Jones was obsessed about a crystal skull in college. I have a hard time thinking he was obsessed about anything in college.
Do you think he was super into like New Age stuff? Like you think he had like crystals everywhere, and
he wanted to like go to Sedona, Arizona, find the vortices and vibrate
Sits cross-legged a lot without shoes.
Had a lava lamp. See, here's the thing. Again, they dropped the ball. It should have been Ox was obsessed with it. I had to listen to it all the time. But we knew it was debunked by this crazy skull thing, and it. Like, that's the thing. Indiana Jones should be skeptical about everything.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, that moment could have been him saying, see, even that one that he was obsessed with was a fake. Yeah. And then it plays off that this is a real thing later on. It becomes a better motivation. Like, and then the idea of Indiana Jones is that his mind gets changed over and over again.
Right.
He disbelieves something. He has to hear it from somebody. His father was obsessed with the Holy Grail. He doesn't believe in it. By the end, he's a believer. He doesn't believe that, the Ark of the Covenant exists, that it's, has these powers. And by the end, he's a believer. Mm-hmm. This should have been the same thing. Ox was obsessed. He was a crazy person. I had to listen to it. I could recite whatever he was telling me in my sleep, but it's all BS. And then by the end, he's just like, wow, he was right. Like, that's the point of it all. Like, he's not obsessed with anything other than grave robbing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I like that. I think that could have worked really well.
What's really strange is Mutt says right around second 46, 48, something, he's talking about Ox talking about it till the cows come home. And he says it was like his second idol.
No, he says it's like an idol.
Yeah.
Is that what he says? It's like an
Yeah,
idol.
like he's trying
okay.
to. Yeah,
You think he's trying to get Indy to care at all? It's like an idol. You know, that only thing you liked.
Like
Yeah.
a fertility one, you
Yeah.
might find like a kid coming out of it. And,
maybe 2/3 a bag of sand.
yeah.
Well, speaking of bunk, any last minute missives coming in or?
You guys are killing me. I'm going to spend the rest of the night going through and rewriting this whole movie because it's already starting to kick in with this stuff. Like I'm literally sitting here going like he should have turned around and said, you know, like Mutt should have been more passionate about it. He should have been like, no, Ox told me growing up, like it had these mystical powers, it had these crazy powers, and he's just like, it's just nuts, kid. Like,
yeah. Oh, that would
like
perfect.
that's the moment. Like it should have been.
Yeah.
Or,
Well,
you know,
so
like you got to
what-
save my mom or
Looking at this now, you know, is Mutt interested in archaeology? Is Mutt like have the same passion for history? I understand he's got his armor of the Wild One and all that, but right beneath that, is he really interested? Like is you know is he a chip off the old block? Is he really curious
he
about
may
the
have gotten-
world?
He probably picked up some of Oxley's interest. Like, you know, he spent so much time with him and heard all the stories that probably got to him a little bit, but it doesn't seem like he's got like a burning passion about it or anything.
And it's going to be like Sam in 5 years. You know, now it's like, oh, my dad does 32 podcasts and he does all this. And this.
Yeah.
But like 5
I'll
years
never
from
touch
now,
a podcast,
he-
yeah.
yeah, if someone mentions a podcast, my dad never did one of those. Shut up.
My dad loved me. He had time for me.
I don't know. See, like I'm sitting here looking at this dang thing. I'm sitting here going, if Ox talked to him so much through the years about this, right? And that's the way they bonded. They talked about this. Him and Mutt would talk about it all the time. Wouldn't he have looked at that letter and been able to decipher some of this stuff and said, look what this says. This says this.
Yeah.
And Indy would have been like, wow, you're right. Like it could have given Mutt that little bit of like spark. There's something there. Like he knows something and he should have learned something through the years. And if they were wanting to turn him into the next Indiana Jones, having that passion and then by the end being like, wow, this is what archaeology is like. I can do this. You know, and then his arc becomes like, if that's where they wanted to go, but they just kind of muddled him. Like they weren't really sure what to do with him. They muddled him.
Yes.
You guys suck. I can't believe you dragged me down to this.
We did
like
the whole
I
thing.
was very
What have we
happy
done to
not
Chris?
talking about this.
We broke him.
Muddled. Totally.
You need a
What?
kangaroo, Chris.
Man, I was so happy until you guys made me watch these 3 minutes.
I said we were
That's
sorry.
how it goes.
I can
You
only
guys
stand
got
for
like
ours
100
sometimes.
more minutes to go. You're screwed.
Oh, yeah.
Take it easy, Chris. Take it
Poor
easy.
Jerry's gonna be drinking up like a fish, man.
Well, coming hot off the press. Yeah,
Oh.
this just in. Hey, this
Hey-o.
just in from.
Wait, what's a press sound? Like a
Yeah,
yeah.
coming over the wire.
that was good.
It's the wire. It's actually the wire.
Oh.
This just in from Professor Christy Porter. Besides parents and teachers, who makes the best mentors?
Hmm. The best
Which it's interesting
mentors.
because Indiana Jones here in this scene is a teacher and a parent, but you know,
Unknowingly apparent.
Yeah.
unknowingly. Oxley is somewhat. We're talking about some mentor, I guess.
I've never had a mentor.
Aw.
I'm not able to speak to this.
Well, I don't know. Maybe a
It's
coach.
interesting.
Yeah, a coach.
Right.
Does that count as a teacher, though?
It could sometimes.
know.
Yeah, it does sort of.
I think that's
I
it. I
think-
think it's just teachers and parents, and that's it.
I think teachers
Maybe
and
a
parents.
grandpa. Yeah.
Yeah.
Family members.
Chris would have been a great mentor.
The guy you meet at the museum who trips you from the first Indiana
Yeah.
Jones
I'll
TV
clobber you.
TV show.
Like I've had mentors that I didn't interact with. Like I had heroes that I watched their career and figured out my strategy based on them.
Well, that was basically
Oh,
Indiana
yeah.
Jones for me.
Yeah.
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 George
Yeah.
Lucas.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
George-
Do
Indiana
fictional
Jones.
characters, do they
Yeah.
act as mentors to
Oh,
you?
maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. To some extent, they
If you-
inform your decisions in life. I want to be an archaeologist. Get
But
all
if
the
you could
play.
have a fictional character be your mentor, who would it be?
Indiana Jones.
Why? He's an awful mentor.
Yeah.
You know, it's
I mean,
funny.
I
you
love the
can't-
character, but he'd be
Yeah.
an awful person to look
he
up
would,
to.
Yeah, he would be, and he's emotionally distant and unavailable, and they always
His
say
life
that.
lessons are horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd pick JFK from 13 Days.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's obscure.
Just
Not
talking
obscure in the
about,
sense that, but it's like you
like,
don't want the
great
real
books and
JFK.
solving
Yeah.
problems.
You want the-
yeah.
You want the fictional
no,
version of
it's
JFK.
tough. Yeah.
Yeah. Tom,
Oh, my fictional mentor.
your fictional mentor.
Either Jean-Luc Picard or Special Agent Dale Cooper. They're men of know-how and conviction and spiritual fortitude and humanity.
Steve Austin.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
that's a good one.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's better, stronger, faster.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
Well, now I want to do the Harlem Globetrotters
There you go.
because they've got something for every situation.
They did.
They do.
It's true.
Yeah.
Well, they're one of they're one of those great examples of the sum is greater than the part. Well, in their case, the sum is as good as the parts, and it's
Yeah.
all rad.
The parts are good. The sums are good.
Yeah,
Everything's
exactly.
good.
It's all good.
And the generals play along. It's good when the opposing team is paid to lose. So that's a good life lesson.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like maybe the generals were my mentors. All right. Well, Chris, this is always a great pleasure having you on. It
Yeah.
always goes way too quickly. So we're going to try to snag you for an Anything Goes episode here sometime soon. That may have already aired when you're listening
yeah.
to this. And if it has, you should definitely check it out because he's going to be talking about something very near and dear and passionate to his heart.
The Giving Tree.
Maybe.
That was
Maybe.
an off camera, off microphone joke that for just the
Yes.
three of us.
That everybody gets anyway.
Yep. So yeah, and definitely check out his amazing library. Darth Vader #1 is, I think, in the canon of Western literature, above
A little biased.
above Ulysses, maybe slightly below Finnegan's Wake, but it's
Wow.
close to #1. It's close to #1. So if you haven't read it, you need to read it. It will change your life. It's a self-help
changed your
manual.
life, right?
It changed my life. Yep. So, but read everything the man's drawn and written. He's brilliant. He's funny. It's all wonderful. And thank you, Chris. This is always a lot of fun.
Yeah. Sorry, I talked way too much about this stuff.
No, that's
No,
what
you
You
you're
say
doing
that
doing.
every
here? We
time,
gotta-
and
Fix
you
the
are
movie
always
for us.
the
We
most
gotta-
perfect guest we ever have.
Yeah.
Oh, please. That's not true. And I know you say it to everyone because I listen. So you can't fool me, but-
speckled
He's
all
on
the
to us.
holes.
We're trying.
Yeah.
So, but thank you again. I always love talking to you guys, and
Thank
Oh,
you,
we love
Chris.
I
having
truly
you.
love it. And let me just, without having you saying anything ahead of time to me, to the people listening, you should be a patron. You should
Oh,
go and give these poor gentlemen some money to make sure that you get to listen to this show and the other shows, because I want to keep listening. So
Chris said it, not us.
people, pay us some money.
Pay
Come
us
on.
pay us
It must
to
be true if
lose.
Chris said it.
Yep. That's what a mentor sounds like, listeners.
See?
You've all got one. So thank you, Chris. And
Thanks.
listeners, if you would like to follow Chris's excellent, always wonderful, beautiful advice, you can visit our Patreon at indianajonesminute.com/Patreon or at patreon.com/IndianaJonesMinute. You can find it either way. And for a low monthly contribution that helps us out, think of it as a love offering. You can get lots of love back from us. And we put our hearts and souls into talking about things that are important to us and that we think might hopefully bring at least a chuckle to your mouth. And please Have a great weekend, everybody. Be nice to people. Be kind. And come back here Monday for minute 31 of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull here on the Indiana Jones Minute.
What?
Oh my god.
Wow.
My wife just woke up.
Not taking it easy.